And reason being is because they all have not residential, but solvents. They have their trace chemicals of what they use, the residual solvent, to extract the cannabis, because they're not refining it enough because their yield's going away. So instead of yielding 7 ounces of oil, if they refined it and got all the impurities out of it, they would only have 3.5 ounces of oil. So they're doubling their profit, so to speak, by not refining it and taking those products out. So if you don't tell the public that it's in there, they're not going to know it's in there, because there's no regulations for cannabis. If you go into your dispensary and ask to see a product and ask to see the testing results, they're going to look at you like you're stupid. They're going to show you a THC report. They're going to show you a THC report that shows you the potency of the THC. They're not going to show you any butane or any residual solvents that are in there, any mold that may be present, or because you're always going to have mold inside of your cannabis oils when you introduce water. You're using alcohol and water. You're using your alcohol to extract it, or your butane, and you're using water to flush some of it out. If it's not done correctly and it's not cured correctly, you will get moisture inside of there. You'll keep the moisture inside of there, and you'll obtain mold. That mold can grow inside of oils, flowers, edibles, anything. It'll grow on top of those cannabinoids and stay on there. So you have to test for that shit. Nobody's testing for it. And the reason I know they're not testing for it is because I've researched it when I first started my company in the beginning of the year. We spent $40,000 on research and found out that every company is lying. Every company is lying.
It doesn't surprise me, because, what company doesn't lie about the little intricacies of what they do?
Right. And well, the reason that they lie about it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. If it was regulated, would that take away that problem? Because I posted something about that the other day, about about the bill that they're trying to pass, and that if it was federally regulated and federally legal on any level, it would take away, I think, that you wouldn't have that problem of it being contaminated at any level.
Yeah, because you have all like these mom and pop shops opening up. If you have it regulated to where you have to have this many level, like pharmaceutical companies, the reason that pharmaceutical companies are so expensive is because it's expensive for their testing and all that, because they're regulated. You go into the dispensary and tell them you want to get fucked up, they're going to point you to the thing that has the biggest margins. They don't ask you, well, what are you coming here for? It's supposed to be medical marijuana, right? Well, why are you coming in here telling me what's your highest THC? Why aren't you telling me, hey, I'm coming in here, like, what the fuck are you coming in here for? What did you get diagnosed with to get your medical card? You have insomnia? Great. Here's my strain Somnia. Why are you giving somebody green crack that's a fucking, that's a sativa that's supposed to be giving them energy when they have insomnia? But that's because it fucks them up. They don't know any better because they're not educated. That's why it's not. Once you get it regulated, the information can become available for the people to get the medicine that they need. You've got people that try marijuana, and it gives them the opposite effect of what they want, because somebody's giving them the strain that they shouldn't have fucking had in the first place, because that terpene profile, the terpene profile is what makes your strains different. It's nothing else. You're always going to have the same THC and CBD compounds. It's going to have different components, different potency levels on it, but they're going to affect you differently, not because of the potency levels, but because of the terpenes, because each terpene interacts with a certain receptor inside your brain. So there has to be research done that pinpoints what each terpene does to what receptor, so we can formulate exactly what strains do exactly what. There are case studies that say this is good for this and good for that, but if you look, almost all the case studies just state that it's all good for anxiety, or it's all good for depression, it's all good for that. There's no case study stating that green crack is good for this or that, or, purple rhino is good for this or that. There's not enough research, and that's the thing that needs to happen. It will never get regulated until we have research.
I always imagined that's what the future would be, like going into a dispensary and, kind of going in there with your script or whatever, or now that it's electronically done, and having them, have your problems, what you got going on in your ailments, and them giving you what you need for it, but in the form of, CBDs or cannabis. So that's what I always envisioned that a dispensary would be,
Well, I'm gonna do a little shameless pitch, a plug here. I'm actually working on it. I'm actually working right now on a product that it's going to be a cloud-based system that's going to be basically an operatorless dispensary. You're going to be able to build your profile. You're going to get you're going to go to a doctor, or be able to give your medical records to our doctor or whatever, and they're going to put together a profile of your ailments, what exactly you need prescribed cannabis for, what your ailments are, things of that nature, and it's going to build a profile on what we recommend for you. And then you're going to have a personalized menu to be able to go online, look through your menu, and figure out what you want. Boom, 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 boom. And then that's going to be able to get put into a locker system, a vending machine, in a location near you, somewhere near you, where you can type in all your information, do your online orders. It'll send you a text message when your locker is ready. You drive to the location, scan your ID card, which will already be on system because you'll scan that with your medical records and things of that nature, and you will be able to get your products without even having to talk to anybody. It'll be super discreet. It'll be out in a black bag. It'll be just like a Red Box rental.
Huh. That's awesome.
Dude, Sean, change everything. I love it.
It's because it's a lot of people they don't go to a lot of people don't go to dispensaries because they don't want to be seen because they still have that stigma. So if you can't beat a stigma, which it's going to take a while to beat a stigma. I mean, like racism is a stigma. We can't get rid of racism. So once something's around, it's always around, I believe. But there's ways to overcome it and to adapt and overcome. So I'm just going to adapt to it. And if people want discreetness, then I'm going to give them discreetness. But I'm going to give them discreetness with a pharmaceutical touch. Like it's going to be legit because in order to get regulation, you can have a hippie with a bag of weed asking you if you want to get stoned, or you can have a machine that has all of your information, all the patient information, your medical records, knows exactly what you're diagnosed with. It has all that information to make an educated medical decision on what you consume. It's going to be a lot easier to get that regulated with those credentials than just saying, "Hey, man, it's just a plant."
Yeah, man. Like I said, this is it's going to be a hard thing to overcome, but I think it can be done. And hopefully, you start to get some more of these athletes. Hey, man, I would even go and look around and see who's recently tested positive for marijuana, like Kelvin Gastelum. That wouldn't be a bad guy to reach out to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, and a lot of these things, I can almost guarantee you. Like you look at you see him, you're like, well, he's just a young guy. He's just out having fun with his friends. I bet he's suffering from some kind of fucking injury. I mean, he's had a couple of really hard fights, and Kelvin doesn't seem like the type of guy that wants to take any kind of narcotics. So I'm almost guaranteeing he was self-medicating.
I wouldn't argue with that assessment either, because I still feel that a lot of guys were doing it. Me and you were talking off air about another guy who was literally ran out of the sport because he was using that he was using marijuana to self-medicate, and he probably could have really did with the use of CBD oil, but unfortunately it wasn't readily available like it is now when Matt Riddle was fighting, and he was one of the fun guys on that season 7 of The Ultimate Fighter, and now he's not in the sport. He's doing wrestling now, where he probably doesn't have to worry about anyone testing for anything like that. So
yeah, and he's making more money. Well, I mean, the thing is that fighters are too scared to stand up and if people would just have balls. I think that's why what I do why I do what I do with the videos and stuff. Like, people just need to have balls. Stand up for what the fuck you believe in. If you believe that this is just a medical plant and you need it to survive, then stand the fuck up and say it for somebody else to do it. We need everybody to band together. All of us. We all need to stand together and say, you know what, I don't give a fuck about your made-up rules. This is a plant that nature put on here that can grow in soil that I own, so you can't tell me I can't possess it. I'm going to have it, I'm going to consume it, and I'm going to live the life that I need. It's not affecting anybody. Now, I don't believe that you should be able to smoke marijuana anywhere you want because it does affect people at that point. But I believe that you should be able to consume it if you have an edible or whatever. If it's not, because if you can smoke smokes out in front of everybody, you should be able to smoke marijuana. Smokes, you know, and the reason
I'm
I
with
call
you
them
there.
smokes,
I quit smoking cigarettes like 5 years, and like even now, like it gets irritating when like you know like you're in an enclosed environment and people are smoking around you. It gets a little irritating.
Yeah,
I get
go.
not being able to smoke that in a public place, but if you could, I'm with you there. If you could smoke cigarettes, pretty much you know wherever it's prohibited, then you should be able to, as long as it's legal within said state, to you know.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, even if it's not legal, like. I'm not saying break the law, but break the fucking law. Like, if you need it, you know what I mean? If you need it, like, why is it okay? Explain to me this. Why is it okay for somebody to go to a pharmacy and buy pills, but you can't buy the pills from your neighbor? They're the same fucking pills. Why do you have to go to a certain place to get them? If they're illegal one place, they should be illegal in another. Plain and simple.
You, man. I'm with you.
You know what I mean? So if I'm going to get arrested for possessing pills because they're harmful, why in the fuck are people making profit selling them? But you've got a plant that doesn't hurt nobody, and you've got people doing life in prison for selling it. That's bullshit. And that's what I'm saying. And I think that's why companies won't fucking touch me, because I tell them how it is, and I tell everybody how it is, and I won't shut up about it. I will never change how I do things to appease anybody. I'll always be me 100%. And that's why I think that Terp House will help be in the forefront of the legalization of cannabis nationwide, because it is a medical product. Like, I don't tell people that I own a cannabis company. I own a medical company. I make medicinal products. I make medicinal vape pens and medicinal oils. I don't make cannabis products. If you start treating things like you want them, that's how others will treat them. Like, you know, you've got people all the time that are pieces of shit, but they dress nice and they act nice. So people assume that they're nice. So if you just start acting like this isn't a big deal, this isn't a stigmatized thing, this isn't illegal, this is helping me, then other people will start following suit. You got to look. People are sheep. The whole world is just looking for somebody to follow. They find somebody that's making a little bit of noise, and they tend to follow them. How are we following a 14-year-old girl named Danielle Bregoli, making her a millionaire for acting stupid?
And then people get locked up too?
Yeah, she's always getting locked up. She's getting beat up and locked up all the time, and she's getting famous for it. And then you got other people that are trying to change people's lives, and they're getting put in the background, and they're shutting up because they're afraid of retaliation. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going to say what I want to say, and when I go to out of state, when I travel out of state, I bring my products with me, and I consume cannabis in states that you're not allowed to consume cannabis in, because I need it for my health, and nobody is going to be able to take my health away from me. And that's what I encourage everybody else to do. If you need cannabis, if you need CBD oil, if you need THC to survive, quit letting people regulate you. Yeah, you might go to jail, but bail the fuck out and go do it again. Become a martyr.
You know, I guess people also forget that Martin Luther King was arrested for the things he stood up for too, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying you have to, ruin your life. Yeah, I'm not saying, but I'm saying if enough people go in without fear, they'll be heard. Feared people do not get heard. If you go in and cower down, nobody listens to you. But you stand up. I do this. I make this. I'm big on analogies, but I make this analogy all the time because I've been locked up, and about everybody that I know has been locked up. But if you go into the prison yard and you cower down, you're going to be picked apart for the entire stay of your sentence. But if you go in the yard pounding your chest and knocking motherfuckers out, people are going to bow down to you and listen to what you have to say. And that's how I live my life. I pound my chest no matter where I go so people hear me, so people will listen to what I say. And if enough people do that, the world has no other option but to listen. So to anybody listening that is a cannabis advocate, if you want this to be heard, you have to stand up for it. You can't be doing stupid shit like these idiots going around doing bong tokes and dumb shit like that in businesses. That's not going to make it legal. That's going to make it more scrutinized. But do it, tell everybody about, I'm taking CBD oil. I'm doing, I'm using my cannabis. That's why I'm feeling the way that I am, blah, 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 blah. Stand up for it. Don't go out and publicize it and do it in public and offend people. That's not what I'm saying. But stand up for it. Like, if people ask me, do you use cannabis? Yes, I do. Have you used cannabis lately? Yes, I have. I'm using cannabis right now. I use cannabis 24/7. I always have one of my vape pens on me. If you see me without a vape pen, I'm probably dead.
Or sick.
So, I mean, everybody has to start standing up for what they believe in. We all have to band together and tell everybody, look, if you know somebody that's using cannabis or you're using cannabis and it's helping you, you need to let it be known. Yeah, you quit with the stigma. If you don't act like there's a stigma on it, there won't be one. So when you ask me, like, how do I overcome those stigmas, I just act like it's an everyday thing. I don't go in and say, hey, let me talk to you about cannabis real quick. I just go in and assume that they already use cannabis. I just ask them if they know the benefits about CBD or not. And if they tell me no, I ask them why they don't know or if they've ever consumed it. Then I can break that. But if you go in and say, hey, do you smoke cannabis? They're assuming two things. They're either you want to buy some cannabis or you're trying to sell some cannabis, and they automatically shoo you away. You've got to learn how to break into a conversation. As you can tell, I love to talk. So I've been very, very good at starting conversations. And you've got to be able to break into the conversation without people building up that wall. And we just have the wrong spokespeople for cannabis. We have people that like to party and publicize it being this party drug instead of it being if we had a doctor talking about CBD, people would fucking listen.
Yeah. But then again, goes back to the big pharma point. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If you had a doctor, he doesn't have to be super world renowned or anything like that. Just somebody who's on the positive side of it. Go ahead.
I have someone to introduce to you, and I'm actually going to see him this week to see if he'll talk on the panel. A friend of mine that is a surgeon, a sports orthopedic surgeon that went on the board to make it legal for pain management.
Oh, sweet. Well, I'd be super interested in doing some kind of clinical studies.
I got some good people. Like I want your phone number to talk to you about the panel because it's going to be huge.
Yeah, no, Steve will get you all my information, and then I'll.
Well, like I said,
you're welcome to come.
Was one of the main It's definitely one of the main reasons why I wanted Carrie to come on with us tonight and discuss with us, because I just figured that both of y'all would link up really well. She knows people on this on this side of the world here on the East Coast to kind of get that word out that that she wants to get out, and obviously you want to get out as well. So it's one of the main reasons I wanted her on tonight, because I just know that where she's at is pretty much you guys are kind of on the same wavelength, so to speak.
Yeah,
very much so. I mean, it just baffles me whenever I see, a fighter pop for steroids and they get, really hardly anything happen to them. And then, Nick Diaz, when he got, suspended for marijuana, and Anderson Silva popped for steroids.
Like you're suspended for
wasn't heard of after that.
$200,000. You're suspended for 2 years for taking $200,000.
For a plant, it's
well, what's crazy is, well, and all these fighters, most of the fighters that are their performance, they're taking them for injuries. They're taking them to hurry up and get off of whatever the fuck they're taking.
So looks like we have a caller sitting in here in queue. I don't recognize the number, so let's see who this is. See if this could be interesting. Caller, you're live on the.
Franklin!
Who's that?
I'm ready to go to war for you, bro!
Brad. It's Brad.
Damn, man. You got me fired up over here. Listen to this.
I love it.
Shit, bro.
Yo.
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable, bro. Yeah, totally, bro. I'm putting your logo
Franklin,
everywhere. It has to go with Cage Side Turf House. That's all there is to it. I want to punch somebody in the face. Let's do it.
I want to punch somebody in the face.
that, Franklin, if you don't know, that's like Brad's line right there. That's his thing.
I love
punch somebody in the face. When I told him about this, after me and you had the conversation, I told Brad he was going to enjoy who you are as a person, on top of helping us out, coming on as a sponsor. And he literally sent me a message like 10 minutes ago. He's all pumped up. I was like, oh wait, here we go. So he's I guess you could say he's excited about the new partnership.
and Franklin too. Not to mention, man, you said when you go on to the prison yards, you either freaking bow up or you get knocked the fuck down. And I just saw Shot Caller, so that movie made. I was like, man,
that's what made me think.
I saw that damn movie. Huh?
That's what made me think of it, because I was like, I've always used the analogy, but yeah, I've always used the analogy, but like I when I seen it, I was like, fuck, that's how you have to do it. Like, you got to go in there, stand up, and knock a motherfucker in the face.
Yeah, you're just not gonna make it.
Yeah, that's
man.
Awesome. I love it.
You gotta take that with your business too. Just keep on plugging away, and we appreciate you allowing us the opportunity to spread the word. And it's going to be a great partnership, man. We're pumped up. I already got the videos rolling out, so Turf House is in the house.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. Well, I greatly appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to it, man. It's awesome. I mean, you guys are pretty on point with what you do, and I just appreciate all the support and the platform to be able to get out some information.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It was funny because right as we set up the interview, you got on with my man James Lynch. I'm like, James kind of beat me to the punch there, but it's all good in love. And James is one of the best guys in the business. I even I've even reached out to other media members just so you have the opportunity to kind of talk to other members of the MMA media to kind of use their platforms as well to kind of spread the word as much as we can about this, because I'm not one of these guys that I want to break the news. I want to be the first to do it. If someone else beats me to it, whatever, but not just also beat them to it. Make sure that all the information gets out there and everyone has access to that information.
Yeah, I mean, well, me and James were supposed to link up months and months and months ago. I met with James through Brian Rogers. Him and Brian Rogers are really close, and it just so happened that we just got kind of not been able to meet up until just recently. But he did that interview, and I greatly appreciate that. And you've made a couple connections for me as well, and I greatly appreciate that. And then also letting me on the air today to take up pretty much all your damn show, chit-chatting and talking.
Well, so that's a beautiful part, because that's why I wanted to do it today, because then we wouldn't have been restricted to a 30-minute time frame, where tonight we could have just used it to talk about wherever we want. Hell, we still have 30 minutes of live time. We can talk about even more stuff. We can get into some MMA. We can start talking about Franklin's love for one Tanya Evinger, which me and him share. It's
Tanya's a beast, man. Tanya's a badass.
Me as well.
She was hard on herself.
Well. I like her, man.
She was hard on herself for that fight, but I thought she looked good.
When she put out that tweet, I jumped all over that. I'm like, are you out of your mind, dude? Because me and you talked about this. Like, she didn't even need to win the fight. She just needed to be, she just needed to be in it. She just needed not to get blasted out there. And then Chris is, kind of took some of it away, sitting there saying that she was being a little bit more calculated than usual. It wasn't like typical Cyborg smash type of situation. But I also believe if that is true, I think it's more along the lines of the respect that Chris actually has for somebody like Tanya. Like, you know, me and you talked about this off air with her. It's you know, she's one of these women's MMA pioneers that no one's talked about. Literally, outside of Ronda Rousey, this girl has fought in every single fighter in that bantamweight or featherweight weight classes that are worth even mentioning. You know, she's been in there with Gina Carano. Go ahead.
You've got a ton of women's pioneers. I mean, like Tanya La Rosa. She tried to get on the Ultimate. She tried to get on. She couldn't get on. You got Roxanne Modafferi. She tried to get on. She couldn't get in there. I mean, a lot of these girls have fought.
See, actually, Roxanne went back. People don't know she's on the upcoming season right now.
Yeah, I know. Huh. But you know, I mean, that's what's crazy is Syndicate has some bad motherfuckers.
Women and guys, dude. My gosh. You see what Khalil Roundtree did a few weeks ago in Glasgow, so you know what I mean. Can't sleep on that, Jim.
No. I mean, you got Julian Marquez that knocked out fucking Philip Halls last night.
Yes, sir.
Man, last night was the best Contender Series that I've seen. He should have signed everybody. If he doesn't, he
had that a few weeks ago too. Remember when he only signed O'Malley and he had like you could have signed Dan Svan. Dan Svan was on the Ultimate Fighter. Probably should have gotten a call back. Had the fight where you know takes the guy on like literally a few days' notice. You know, completely different fighter he was used to. Gets clipped, gets caught with some illegal shots, jumps back up.
He lost that fight though. He lost that fight. That was bullshit. That's why Dana didn't sign him. He lost. He don't. I'm not.
What about
Tana
Lee? But what about Tana Lee? Tana Lee had that amazing knockout. He doesn't get a contract. Come on, man.
Yeah, that was kind of bullshit. The reason he didn't get the contract is because he's not a big draw and he's old. That's the only reason. People need to quit trying to get into the goddamn UFC. The UFC is going to fold in the next 4 or 5 years. They don't have the management. They don't have the knowledge of the industry to be able to do what they're doing. They're losing all their fighters to Bellator. So it's going to this is going to be my MMA prediction if we're going to be talking about MMA for a minute. Bellator and Ray Sefo, so Viacom and Ray Sefo are going to come to some kind of agreement, and the PFL, WSOF, and Bellator is going to merge within the next 5 years and knock UFC into oblivion. We won't even hear of UFC in 5 years. There'll be some new organization, some superpower that's going to have all these crazy fucking fights. Bellator would be awesome if they quit digging up bullshit fighters from the graves to fight each other. If they would stop worrying about ratings and let the fighter, like, we need to have two different organizations. We need to have an organization where you're an up-and-coming fighter, your fights and your pay are based on your record and the way you fight. If you're a boring-ass fucking fighter, you're probably not going to get a title shot. Like, if you're a Ben Askren, I'm probably never going to give you a title shot. I will pay you good, and you'll get as many fights as you need because you're going to be able to fight a lot because you're boring as fuck and you take no damage. But you're probably not going to get a championship. I don't care if you win 9,000 fights. But if you want money fights that people want to see, you want to see John Jones versus Brock Lesnar. Like, I'm tired of people winning belts and then going to another division or going to another fucking sport. That's stupid. So, like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's had, 4 championship belts and not defended one of them ever? Ever? He's never defended a championship belt. You are not a champion unless you defend your belt. I don't give a fuck. Tyron Woodley, I didn't call him a champion, but he defended his belt. All right, he's a champion. He fought that Damian Maia fight perfectly. I talked shit on him at first because he's boring, but he's not always boring. He fights the fights to win. He doesn't fight for stylistic points or to get on pay-per-view. He fights to win, and that's what a fighter needs to do. He needs to be in an organization that recognizes that, and then there needs to be another organization for idiots that just want to see people get fucked up in super fights. So, because the reason that lower-level guys aren't making the money is because these people, these UFC are paying fucking Alistair Overeem $500,000 a fight, and he's fighting people that are making $10,000. You know what I mean? Like Stipe made what, like $40,000, and Alistair made Dos Anjos made like $400,000. So you got Dos Anjos that gets knocked out all the time, and then you've got Stipe that's beating the shit out of people, and you're paying this guy $1 million and you're paying this other guy pennies. You can't afford to have good talent because you're overpaying these big draws because they've got a big name for whatever reason. You know what I mean? It's just I don't understand how people are paying to see these people. Like how people don't pay to see BJ fight is beyond me, but they'll pay to see Brock Lesnar.